Hey there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon here alongside our meteorologist Gabe Maynor, tracking a severe thunderstorm warning. Been ongoing down here for southern Montgomery County for a little while. Again, the most likely scenario here is we're going to get some damaging wind gusts to go along with maybe some hail. I don't know that I see a ton of hail out of this at this moment. We're going to analyze that a few different ways here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar to get kind of a better angle of that. Current time is coming in right about 2:20 p.m. at this moment. And again, we're looking here for around Attala, southern Montgomery County, and Choctaw County under this severe thunderstorm warning. Those locations, as you can see there, under that warning until 2:45 p.m. Just to double check with Todd behind the scenes here. Does the audio sound good? Okay, good deal. Considering we had some issues last night, we wanted to make sure we got that right for a second. So I would say as far as the hail potential is concerned, first and foremost, let's look, I'd say, three-dimensionally on this one here, just kind of get an assessment. A lot of times with these hail-producing thunderstorms, you're going to see kind of a higher hail core aloft on it. And so we'll get about a 1 hour loop here just to kind of see. You'll notice, well, and I've got other things in the foreground here, unfortunately, just how high some of those hail cores are kind of extending on this. That's a little too fast. So let's stop that. Let's bring back the current scan. And let's go ahead and slide back a few scans there to kind of, I'm looking through a little too much. Give us a moment here as we get our broadcast day started like this. So going back a couple scans on this, I don't know that I show a ton of these cores super high, but there's a couple right there in the beginning. There we go. Toward the beginning of this warning that might be more significant. Let's kind of slice in here, slice that down a little bit and get it to, we're about 50 dBZs. Now we're closer to 55 dBZs or so. So again, you can see the southern portion of that complex there, closer to Ethel. Again, we're back to about 146. So this is not at this instant, but this is when that warning, closer to the time in which it was issued. And we'll go and now set this as a 30-minute loop here from that point forward. You'll notice we don't have quite as much of those stronger cores showing up there aloft. So I'd say our peak wind potential about a half hour ago, and certainly we've seen that kind of come down in intensity in the last few minutes. Because again, if I take this just three-dimensionally one more time for you, you'll notice there's only really one or two little spots there where we do show some of those cores a little bit larger, like up here closer to the Vaden community there south of Winona. Now, Gabe, while I'm getting ready on this, will you go ahead and switch the Winona camera? Let's swing it around, make sure we're looking south toward that thunderstorm there. Yes. So we can get kind of a shot of that here in just a moment. We'll pop that up here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar here in just a moment. But again, a severe thunderstorm warning, Attala, Choctaw, southern Montgomery County. I would say we're honestly past the peak on the intensity of this, kind of looking at this based on what we're looking at this point in time here as well. Gabe, when you've got that right, you just go ahead and chime in, let me know, and we'll take a look at that.
Do you want it looking directly south?
I would say directly south is pretty close. Again, current time 2:23 in this warning in effect until 2:45 p.m.
We're good on that.
Okay, so let's go ahead and pull up our camera there. This would be looking in Winona southward into that thunderstorm. Again, appreciate the good folks at North Mississippi Storm Chasers.
It's got to update.
You know, that is the first time that has happened. So one of the cool things about this is if we, with our system here, and again, we're still learning all the things it's capable of, because I put the radar in here and I layered the radar over top of that there. Since I'd already clicked that warning, it still left that up there. That's kind of cool. Well, there you go. See, that is a problem that's actually a feature, Gabe. So looking back into that, of course, just gray sort of clouds. I had someone text me a little bit ago asking about tornadoes. We do not have that kind of organization on these thunderstorms. If we're going to see something, it's going to in all likelihood just be strong gusty winds. And still, obviously, there's a thunderstorm over top of the Winona area. That's probably what's kicking out the little wind. You can see making those cords move around. If we were to swing it, I think we'll leave it this direction. If we were to swing it around, you'd see that heavier rainfall from those storms up around Winona and the Duck Hill area. Bring it back here to the latest scans on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. And again, another way we can kind of look at this, we kind of squish it down to just one product, give us the idea on peak threats. And so what is the peak potential we could see out of this? This kind of just on one graphic gives it, kind of smushes on, is it rain, is it hail, is it maybe some damaging winds? And you'll notice even on this over the last hour, how we've gone from some spots where we did have some of the darker blues to now where it's primarily just the greens and blues. Takeaway being, could there be some hail? Maybe some small hail. Of course, you have something to report on that. You can, of course, tag us in that. Of course, on our Facebook chat there, leave that information. We do try to pass that information along to the Weather Service. But I would say, in general, this storm is on the downswing, largely kind of looking at just this one thing that, of course, looks at the peak threats. And so while this says hail in the peak potential, a lot of times with summertime thunderstorms, we don't tend to have as much hail. with them. It's more heavy rainfall or blinding rainfall that sometimes codes in as some of that hail. Let's look at the entire region as a whole here for a moment, because I would say that largely that thunderstorm, again, probably not a lot of severe potential out of it at this point, or at least less than what we had before, with less of those strong wind gusts. Let's go ahead and check the wind potential on that as well for a moment. So looking at the wind potential, again, we're looking from the Columbus radar site. We'll go ahead and leave this as a 1 hour loop here. And briefly there, yeah, see, going back about 30, 40 minutes or so, you did briefly have a spot there. I got to pull off all the lightning so you can kind of see it for a moment. You briefly had a couple spots there where you had some strong winds, probably as that main core there collapsed. Again, we do look fairly high up above the surface. We're looking about 6,800 feet above the surface. So clearly what's going on at ground level is a little different. That's why we're always guesstimating at this distance away. I'm going to change the radar site to Jackson just to see if it has anything that's a little clearer on that. And even from Jackson, we're looking about 4,000 feet up. So that is more reasonable at that distance. And they do show what we're probably about some 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts confirmed on here. Of course, if you do have a wind damage to report, send those reports into us, and we'll of course share those with the National Weather Service, or you can tag the National Weather Service Jackson. That would be Attala County, Montgomery County, Carroll County, of course, also involved in that as well. And again, Holmes County. So current time is now 2:26. We're looking at one other thunderstorm here as we bring it back to the precipitation mode on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. When we're kind of smushing it down here to just the one scan, and we show that the peak threats. We do have a couple spots over here around the Golden Triangle where we do have some more of those darker blues showing up. That's where our Doppler radar kind of estimates that the hail size could be up at a peak level at 1 inch. And again, I think it's probably going to be smaller than that, more likely to be blinding rainfall than that. But a sign that those storms, as you can see, are fairly small. And so if those can operate efficiently, they could kick out some stronger wind gusts as well. So watching that potential around the Golden Triangle. Look at a loop here for a moment. I do think we'll probably send you back to kind of the regular loop. I'll be honest, we got some of the folks from the National Weather Service Memphis here just kind of visiting, seeing what we're doing. So we've been kind of chatting with them and looking at this also behind the scenes as well. But one thing I do note here, we do have an outflow boundary starting to kind of form there back from Caledonia back toward the West Point area. And you can see how the general prevailing wind direction here at the surface, see how you have that northerly wind direction. So as this expands northward, that could add to some of the convergence. And again, we do expect the quantity of thunderstorms to increase. So the likelihood that we see maybe a couple other stronger thunderstorms certainly increases in the next hour to 2 hours or so. Just basically that was the expectation as well related to things. As far as the severe weather threat is concerned for today, we do find ourselves under a level 1 limited risk for severe weather. As you look at the tornado risk, that's not something we would deal with. It would be damaging wind gusts and potentially some hailstones, but even then, as you can see, that threat below the marginal or the level 1 possibility as far as that is concerned. So one last time, looking at our severe thunderstorm warning there, Attala County, Montgomery County does look like it, they've eliminated most of Choctaw County from that. And of course, Carroll and Holmes County. This storm largely on the downswing. Even on the lowest scan, you can see less of those brighter pink colors right there near Ethel. If it was kicking out some stronger wind gusts, these were the locations most likely to have seen it. Before we toss away, I want to bring in our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, here for just a moment. Now, Gabe, you did mention that that we have some power outages related to this?
Yes, and it's kind of scattered all across North Mississippi from these sporadic storms. So we're going to jump to that. We're going to start with a look out of Entergy because it kind of gives a good idea on where those outages are taking place. Of course, a large part of that happening down around Attala County. Looking specifically at, I believe that's Highway 35 there, or Highway 36 there on the northwest side of the county. We're reporting around, if I can get this number right, let me pull this up right here. 367 customers currently out on the northwest side of the county, and even on the northeast side, just along, let me make sure what road that is. That'd be the Natchez Trace Parkway just along the northeast side, showing 133 outages. And it's not just there. I was also checking 4 County over there towards Oktibbeha County, where it's not severe storms, but at least getting some of those heavier thunderstorms out of the Starkville area. And so far, about 30 outages on the east side of Starkville. Talk about a first day of school, right? But even out there towards, if you basically take 82 west, closer to Eupora, 17 outages showing up there as well. Now, crews are dispatched, and hopefully we'll resolve that here shortly. But that's not the only areas that we're watching. We're also looking at, let's see, where is this at? I'm trying to see what company this is. I kind of forgot since looking at it. So this would be Tallahatchie Valley outages that are currently happening. You have 28 there just west of Grenada, there towards Webb and Glendora. There's 28 outages. There's 28 affected members, and so there's a look at those outages close to the New Salem Cemetery, just on the west side of Sharkey. So paying attention to that, and hopefully that will be resolved here shortly. And I do have one more that we can take a look at. This is North Central Electric, and there are 35 outages there towards Watson, closer to Tate County up there on the northwest side of the state. So lots of sporadic outages, a result of some of those stronger wind gusts that just happen real briefly, but can be damaging in its own right. And those outages, of course, showing up 600 total there in Atala County, encompassing a large portion of that. Again, the specific areas, of course, on the northwest and northeast side of the county. Philadelphia there towards Leake County, showing some outages as well. Whenever we populate that, just about 100 outages, and same thing down there towards Canton. Hollandale showing about 100 outages. Lots more wind reports down around the Greenville area. Some of those from yesterday, but actually recent additions were from today as well. Just an active pattern further south you go, but sporadic wind damage, sporadic outages going to be happening throughout the afternoon as well.
Absolutely. So we'll continue to expect a couple of those. Listen, this is not a high-end severe weather day. These summertime days often aren't. But you do get, if one of these just loads up enough precipitation, collapses in the right spot, you do get those spotty reports of wind damage and that potential there. And that's, of course, the reason why we always talk about our weather call here. It's an opportunity to, of course, get an alert that comes directly from the folks at the National Weather Service. I mentioned them a minute ago there. Of course, as the direct arm of the government, who is charged for everybody for issuing whether or not somebody is in danger. That's the reason we push weather calls, because it calls you if they draw the box and say that you're in danger, that polygon, that yellow box we were showing a moment ago. And the reason that's important is because a phone alert in particular is something that's harder to ignore. With as busy as I've been recently, my text messages, my data alerts, all that stuff, that gets missed. But if somebody calls me, I pick up the phone. And so that works both during the day and, of course, at night as well. Always very important there. You can sign up for more information using that QR code directly below me on the screen for the very latest as far as that is concerned. Before we leave you, we'll check down there in Atala County. Our camera there on top of Breezy News, North Mississippi Storm Chasers. You can see some of the dark clouds there. Of course, Atala County under that severe thunderstorm warning there in effect until 2:45 p.m. Only a couple more minutes, I believe, left on that at this point here as that thunderstorm goes through a bit of a collapsing phase. If I can get on the right side here.
You're loving that feature, aren't you?
I am. I didn't know it did it. And so I'm just going to keep clicking it today. So yeah, a lot of thunderstorms around. Certainly take shelter. I would say what I clicked off almost immediately, one of the most important things on this, which is the fact that we have just tons and tons of lightning associated with this, and so we do expect that could be partially the reason why we're getting some of the power outages that we have seen related to this here. I'll bring it back here, the precipitation mode. We'll check the lightning there, and then it looks like Gabe has some thoughts, so we'll check that, and then I think we'll try to wrap things up. So go ahead and bring Gabe in here while I'm waiting for the precipitation mode come back up there. Gabe, yes?
Well, some folks down in Columbus were saying that the winds were blowing out of the south, but the flags were blowing in from the north. And so it kind of shows that outflow boundary that we were talking about, but also those northern winds, just basically a weird interaction with the winds down there, but kind of gives you an idea of what they're seeing down around the Golden Triangle region. But that outflow you can see going to be happening on the north side of Lowndes County, moving there closer to about the Steens area, Caledonia, and then extending into southern Monroe County, Hamilton, Benford. More of that activity expected to develop, but I mean, it's just an absolutely electric storm. We look at some of those strikes, about 200-300 and just on the climb into our afternoon. So these are not at peak strength with a few of these cells out here. So definitely keeping an eye on those as we head further into our Wednesday afternoon and evening. But Matt, that electricity, that energy up in the sky can definitely cause some outages in its own right. So it's not just the wind, it's also the severe category. It's not a severe category, it's the lightning that can cause some outages as well.
Absolutely. So power disruptions expected. Of course, if you want to stick with us, we'll have our next live broadcast coming up at 5 p.m. If there are additional warnings, we'll come in and kind of talk about them for a minute here. Big headline number one, no tornadoes out of this. Headline number two, the storm that we have down here around Kosciuszko is largely weakening. I'm just going to check real quick here what we have on the northwest side there, closer to Vaden, just to kind of evaluate this. I'm going to try, there's a couple ways I can look at this 3D. I'm going to slice into it there just to see kind of where it has the precipitation on how high up that precip core is. And again, we'll kind of back this up a couple scans, because one of the things we do look for is is our precip cord dropping, or is it still kind of maintaining? So it hasn't dropped the biggest of whatever's still up there. So again, as this collapses, maybe a 45, maybe 55 mile per hour wind gust. It is still under that severe thunderstorm warning, so not impossible to get. Anything in excess of 58 miles per hour would qualify as a severe wind gust. So we'll be monitoring things closely. Make sure you have that Mississippi Live weather app for the very latest information. And again, next live broadcast will be coming up at 5 p.m. here, Mississippi Live Weather. We hope you'll join us. Oh, and I forgot we put together a few other things in this. So Gabe, if you will click me to the end, we'll see y'all at 5. Okay, so we need to fix the severe rundown on that.
Is that the severe show?
So I think we had a second severe. I think we had Matt Severe, and I just went to the top and clicked severe on this.
Turn it up!
Friday night, August 22nd, WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi tag teams with Memphis Wrestling to raise money for St. Jude. Join us at the Tupelo Super Show. Reserve your seat at memphiswrestling.tv.
As a nurse, I've seen a lot of people with sleep deprivation. It affects their job, their home life. At Room to Room, we want to take the guesswork out of buying a mattress, and that's why we brought in this technology. It shows you what you need. We want to do the assessment and find exactly what's perfect for you.